Look at that sky. I'm not fiddled with the colour at all. These are real colours. Oh, the old Mekongs are feeding well. So today a bit of a double-pronged approach for the video. As previous on the old year-long challenge of no booze, I combine it with a bit of a walk round and a bit of chat about something else. So I'll combine it today with hitting half a century here in Thailand. That's right. So middle of November I turned 50. Bloody hell, amazing, isn't it? I'm sure a lot of you agree that 50 years old when you're a wee whippersnapper in your teenage years, it sounds ancient, doesn't it? But I still feel like a teenager in mind, not so much in body. As always, I'll start off with a score for difficulty on how I found it since the last update. And during Toon's Buddhist Lent, I'd give it a 1 out of 10, which is it's a first, really. Well, it is, yeah. Easiest it's ever been. And then after that, I would put it at a 3, but I'll go into why in a bit. So I suppose since the last update, I think it's about 3 months, 3 or 4 months, a 2 out of 10, which is pretty fantastic in my book. You know, it's taken a back seat, and I think that's why I haven't done an update a little bit sooner. A few of you have asked how it's going, and to me now it just feels like I'm just banging out the weeks. I can't say that I'm not missing a beer. I am, and that's probably why I gave it a 3 for the last month and a bit. Sitting down and fishing with the missus by the side of the lake, and you know, the goats in the background, and yeah, I am missing it a little bit more than I was before, but I don't think that's such a bad thing. It's not like I'm climbing the walls for one. As far as the weight goes, I'm not sure if I've actually lost any more, but you know, toned up a little bit more. Energy levels about the same. They're waning a little bit this last week because it's been very hot during the days. Evenings is quite cold now. What I've noticed, I'm getting up a little bit earlier again, and I think that's down to, you know, the end of the rainy season, and touch wood, the back end of what has been probably our hardest ever year here on the farm. You know, things were getting a lot easier, but as you know, the chain of events that unfolded during the rainy season were pretty epic in our book, and it did take it out of us quite a bit. There's a couple of open-billed storks over there. As the water level's dropping on the lake, we're seeing them more and more now. They're after the apple snails. They tend to leave the hoi com or the hoi jub alone. They're a lot smaller snail. They go for the big apple snails. We've got bloody billions, so I'm not too concerned about that. What I am quite glad of is not being on the ale when things were at their peak of being really bad on the farm. You know, having to dispatch goats and seeing young ones suffer and all those sorts of things, and the flooding, of course. I needed summon all the strength that I had in me to pull through. I'm not over exaggerating. It was really hard going, guys, and yeah, we did pull together as a team, and we got through it. But you know, we were definitely wobbling a bit, and I think if we'd both been on the pop, I don't think we would have confronted the challenges so much head on. And what I mean by that is, you know, you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh, sod that for a game of soldiers, we'll shut the door on that and we'll have a few beers. And although I don't think there's anything wrong with that, it just forced the issue that we had to knuckle down, get things done, and then in the morning we were clear-headed, up nice and early. We went again, you know, but if we were drowning our sorrows or feeling a little bit sorry for ourselves, and had, you know, a few pints, then we would be struggling the next day. Here, look at this. You see that big plume of light cream colour come up there? This side of the lake, the common carp, which I believe in Thai is blanai, yeah, they seem to go along all this side, just over the shelf. Well, I mean, this is a shelf anyway, but we can normally walk on this bit. This bit's going to be taken out and lowered a little bit when Macro Man comes, but then it shelves down about 3.5 meters, and on the slope you'll see the carp in there stirring it up. I think they're after little snails and maybe new hatches of shrimp, I suppose. I'm not sure. Detritus, but the detritus is normally on the flat part of the shelf, not so much on the slope. They're as fat as anything. Don't feed this side of the lake at all. So on to turning 50. Flipping heck, it's I can still remember as a kid my dad turning 40, and my mum had paid for, yeah, they've been stirring it up down here as well, she'd paid for my dad to have a gliding lesson. So I don't know whether she was after the insurance or what, but yeah, I remember thinking, bloody hell, my dad's 40 years old. It's bloody ancient. You know, 40's been and gone, Leigh. It's 10 more on top of that. And I don't feel old. I feel, my body feels old a lot of the time. I pick these every day for the pacu. Sometimes there's a couple of them over here, but as the water level's dropping, you can see how clear it is now. Macro Man Point is about 3 or 4 inches deep right at the pinnacle there, and it's started to dry out there, and you can see the water's clearing. I hope it doesn't get too clear. Although it's lovely to see the fish, I'm really quite guilty of spending way too much time looking at the fish. I'd rather the water to be a bit more coloured. So if it's crystal clear, there's not so much food in the water, I imagine. Gone are the days where I would have even contemplated jogging around this lake on a daily basis and hitting the gym, pumping iron, taking protein shakes and playing rugby on a Saturday. Those days are well and truly behind me now. And I've got the aches and pains from the rugby. They are getting a little bit worse, but now the rains are gone, I was hoping that the aches would go a little bit more, but we've got the cold nights now, and we're dropping down to approaching 12-13 degrees. So luckily the old compost shower is kicking into action, and we've got a warm shower in the evenings now. But yeah, I've noticed that if I miss taking my like high concentration fish oil capsules, then my hips do start playing up quite a lot. So apart from that, it's not too bad. The old thumb that I broke, a little bit of floating bone in there from rugby, that plays up a little bit. It's sort of like locks. Apart from that, I can't really grumble. It's quite happy with how I'm holding up, considering what we've been having to go through on the farm. I mean, I know it helps keep us fit, and you know, we do eat healthily, but you know, I do feel that some of the jobs that we have been doing previously, the real heavy duty stuff, it tends to wear your body down rather than make it stronger. And my main concern is Toon. I mean, she's really damaged her knee quite badly at the moment. She refuses to go to the doctors about it, but she's in a bit of a state with that at the moment. And it's things like that it sort of brings it home to you that we aren't getting any younger, and when we do have a bit of a injury like that, then I'm not saying it puts a lot of pressure on the other person, but it's, you know, it just brings it home that you know, you are only human, and we certainly don't mend as quick as we used to. That is for sure. The aches and pains stay a lot longer. Toon and I have talked about, we're just like feel so lucky that we're not far off everything done. And I know I keep saying it, you know, as far as jobs go on the farm and projects, but we are almost there. I mean, the fencing needs a little bit of tweaking. That could be quite heavy going. We've got someone earmarked to help us out do that in the new year. He doesn't know it yet, but when he gets here, he's going to be put to work quite hard. Another one for the pacu. It's not just the pacu that eat these. A lot of the fish will eat it. The softer, the more ripe it is, the more species that'll eat them. The goats like them if they're not too ripe, but you can't beat the birds to them. You come out early morning just before it's properly light, and they've already been pecking them. They're all over the place. It's quite a sight when the big pacu come up and grab them. There's a lot of pacu in here, but there's not that many of the big originals that we put here. I think we've got about 3. Well, we've got one huge one. I would say he's getting on for about £20 now, and then we've got 2 around. Well, I should say they're double figures. The other main job to do after the fencing tweak, I mean, all we've got to do is take the actual fencing wire off and put it the other side of the posts and raise it up a bit, and then put a line of barbed wire across the top. With Toon and I actually did that along there all the way up to the far end. We've gone all the way down the back. We've got to do all that way, but it needs trimming first before we can take it out. So we've done a lot, just the 2 of us. It's quite a time-consuming job, but you know, we were doing probably 30-40 meters a day, and that's something that has changed over the 4 years that we've been here. We try to break the jobs up, although it's a little bit frustrating sometimes. You can't get a job started and finished in the same day. You know, you just got to do it sensibly, which I know isn't our strong point sometimes, but you know, it's with the weather combined with you know what's physically possible for you. You don't have much choice, otherwise you'd be laid up in bed for a few days if you pushed yourself. Look at the pasture, eh? It's not bad, is it? At the moment, goats are on Goat Island. The idea is, because it's dry now, the pasture is spick and span on there, and a lot of it is going to get scraped and repositioned, or even covered up. Some will be covered up by Macro Man when we get him on there. Toon's going to go and see him later today. So we thought, well, the areas that are going to get worked on, we don't want all that fodder to go to waste, so the goats have been back on there 3 maybe 4 days. At night time we're still putting them back in the house that's next to our house. We haven't heard whether they've relocated the tiger that was on the loose. We sold a couple of our goats, some of you will have seen on Facebook. Just one doeling and one buckling. The idea being is just really to keep the herd numbers a little bit more manageable until we catch up with everything. and obviously with us losing so many goats with what happened earlier in the rainy season, we've got to claw some of that money back. So we're selling a few here and there and keep the old bank manager happy. Loads and loads still due to give birth any time. I would say we've got about 30 pregnancies at the moment. Although when they're giving birth and they're going into labour, that sort of thing, and we do some long hours on those days, it's not particularly hard work. You're so happy that they're giving birth and that the kids are all right, that the time flies past, and it doesn't seem like it's arduous. Almost 4 years in, and nothing on the farm feels like a job. We'll just let everything go as high as we can. You think, we're going to get so much more grass next year. Yeah, it's going to be wonderful. The taller and the thicker the grasses and the weeds on the farm before you let the goats in, the better. They're eating up here now, whereas in the rainy season, it was back here. Although everything was growing quicker, it was all green and lush, and they were taking everything right down, and that's one of the reasons some of the big ones got sick. Hard to imagine now that all that area over there was under about 5 foot of water. There were boats out there before with standing nets. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. This is one of my favourite spots for throwing my surface frog lure. Throw it across there and it just bounce it over the debris there. I wonder why they're not feeding. Oh, something there! Go on, go on, go on, go on! Yeah, bastard! Oh, you fucking... Hey! Sometimes when I look back on the video footage when I'm doing the editing and see the colours and the silhouettes from the trees and that, it looks like a flipping postcard. It really does. Very happy with it. I don't know whether you can see because it's so far away, but underneath the outside roof area, Bullseye and Owenetta, they're standing on the concrete bench we got there. My actual birthday, Toon did her usual pulling out the stops, made me a coffee in bed, which doesn't sound that impressive, guys, but it's only once a year that I get that generally, unless I'm ill, which is very, very infrequent, probably once or twice a year, and one of those I'm normally pulling a sickie. And then she obviously invited Kai Muck and her mum, and there's a little old lady next to Toon's mum, so they came and we had a wonderful meal. Unfortunately, the pork that Toon had bought, it was obviously an old pig. It was as tough as old boots, but it tasted pucker. I did miss my family a hell of a lot, and I always miss my family in fairness, but I missed my mum more than ever before, and I think it was just down to the fact, you're 50 years old, and I think as you get older you appreciate your parents a lot more, and she still looks out for me and Toon, even though she's back in the UK and we're all the way out here. And yeah, it would have been lovely to have seen her that day. So yeah, I think out of all the time I've been out here, so 4 years full time, it's the most I've ever missed me mum. I'm sure if she'd been here, we'd have got the rods out and we'd have been fishing in the lake all day. I can't say I missed having a drink. I mean, my mum was absolutely gobsmacked that I wasn't even having a little tipple on my 50th. But to me, it's like, although it was quite a, what could we say? Quite a milestone, turning 50. I've never been that bothered about my birthdays. Far more giddy about Christmas Day, certainly in the morning, see what Santa's bought. So yeah, I wasn't bothered not having a beer at all. Where I think I've got it lucky, because if I wasn't out here, I mean, I call it in the middle of nowhere. I know it's not really, but you know, we're a little bit remote. It's easy, it's not around you. If I was back in the UK, in Peterborough, you know, and the lads are just a phone call away, you know they're out most weekends and that sort of thing. And of course my sister and brother-in-law and my mum and all that sort of thing is, you know, it's having a beer is so accessible. I know it's accessible here, but the environment that's associated with drinking is right there. Whereas here it's not under your nose, and I don't know, it's just so easy in comparison to what it would be. So I have got it a lot easier than most of you that are doing the same sort of challenge as me. Although I do many more hours than doing a 9 to 5. I haven't got the stress with what comes with a 9 to 5. I know it has been a bit stressful with what happened recently, but you know, it's a different kind of stress than working for someone else. You know, this feels more like you're just experiencing life. Nothing feels like a job to me, absolutely nothing, and long may that continue. It's weird now, we've only been 1 month to go. Yeah, really strange. I think the most surprising thing is how quick the year's gone. I thought it would drag, you know, I'd be counting down the days. Now it's, well, like I said before, it's probably why I haven't been doing the updates. It's just, now it's just sort of like part of the norm. And maybe you're thinking, well, why, if it's part of the norm, why you're thinking about drinking in the new year, which 99% sure I am. I mean, the challenge, you know, is for a year, but I did say if I thought after a year I couldn't control drinking, you know, keep a lid on it, then I'd never drink again. Now I just think, well, I feel like I've totally reset my mind about things, and I feel a lot stronger inside, you know, a lot more confident in my ability to control things. And yeah, I just feel a much stronger individual on the inside, although my body's failing. And that, out of everything, is probably the main bit that I've got out of this challenge. And maybe something will pop up in the last month that'll change my way of thinking, but I don't think so. Everything's, I think certainly with the last couple of weeks where the weather's changed and everything just is feeling all lovely, hunky-dory, you know, that what happened before just seems a million miles away now, and everything's just super chillaxed. I don't know, let's wait and see. Okay, Kai Muck is out in the cornfield with Auntie Toon, picking corn for the goats. So I'll see if I can go and find them. Too hot for that. As always, take care, guys. Look out for that tiger if you're out here. And, you know, hopefully those of you that are doing the challenge as well, you're still going strong. I know some of you are. Some of you have binned it off. But, you know, even if you even if you did a day more than you normally do. That's what it's all about, I think. It's just, don't put too much pressure on yourselves to stay dry. You know, obviously the longer you can do it, the better. You save yourself a few quid, if nothing else. And then just take it as it comes, eh?